Among the dark fairy tales adapted by Disney, Little Red Riding Hood stands out as one of the cruelest of them all. While other tales present danger and hardship, the story of Little Red Riding Hood descends into brutal cruelty. Although Disney softened many of these ancient tales to make them suitable for children, the disturbing and macabre essence of the girl in the red hood, better known as Little Red Riding Hood, still remains. Are you prepared to descend into this dark narrative with the refuge? Then let us begin.
Mommy, can we please go see Grandma today? I miss her so much.
Of course, sweetie. We can go right after lunch.
In a seemingly peaceful village, beside a dense and ancient forest, there lived a little girl known as Little Red Riding Hood. On that sunny morning, she awoke filled with happiness. Finally, after weeks of pleading, her mother had agreed to let her visit her dear grandmother, who had fallen ill. That was why she was preparing a very special surprise. Wearing her red cape, she ventured into the forest, searching for the finest fruits she could find. Among the trees, she found red and juicy strawberries, sweet and perfect apples, and even ripe, shining blackberries. Little Red Riding Hood, though very clever, was still only a child. Deep within her innocent heart, she believed her presence would not only bring joy, but perhaps even heal her grandmother. So she prepared a special surprise, a basket filled with fresh fruits she had gathered with great care. When there was no more room left in the basket, she returned home and completed the surprise with her grandmother's favorite sweets. With the basket finally full, she said goodbye to her mother and began her journey toward her grandmother's house, far beyond the dense forest. As she wandered through the woods, rays of sunlight filtered through the treetops, painting golden patterns across the forest floor, covered in dry leaves. Little Red Riding Hood hummed a cheerful melody while gathering wildflowers along the path, completely lost in thoughts of the surprise she was preparing for her grandmother. So focused on pleasing her grandmother with gifts, she failed to notice the night slowly approaching and the dark clouds gathering above the forest. A freezing wind began to sweep through the trees, and before she could realize what was happening, a massive storm surrounded her. Thunder roared across the forest, while lightning illuminated the dark path ahead. She knew very well the path that led to her grandmother's little cottage. She knew very well the path that led to her grandmother's little cottage, but the violent storm forced her to leave the trail temporarily in search of shelter. By sheer luck, Little Red Riding Hood spotted an ancient structure hidden among the trees. As she ran toward it through the rain, she realized it was an old abandoned barn. Her heart pounded violently inside her chest, yet relief slowly washed over her. At last, she believed herself safe inside that forgotten place while the storm raged outside. Little Red Riding Hood settled deeper inside the barn, listening to the violent wind howling outside and the heavy rain crashing against the wooden walls. Despite the fear still lingering inside her, the shelter brought a fragile sense of comfort. But her brief moment of peace vanished the instant a flash of lightning illuminated the darkness inside the barn. Long enough for her to notice the footprints marked across the dusty floor. They were enormous, and they were not human. Terror filled Little Red Riding Hood's eyes as she froze in place, unable to look away from the mysterious tracks before her. Her heartbeat grew faster. Who, or what, had left those footprints behind? Was it only the product of her frightened imagination, or was something far more sinister hiding inside that abandoned barn, waiting for the storm to pass? As time slowly passed, the dark sky finally began to clear, and the first rays of sunlight broke through the heavy clouds. Little Red Riding Hood knew it was time to continue her journey toward her grandmother's house. With a deep sigh of relief, she left the barn behind, grateful for the shelter it had provided during the storm. Or perhaps not. After all, I am merely the narrator. I cannot truly know what was happening inside her mind. Forgive my speculation. Let us continue the story. Exhausted from a failed hunt and driven by hunger, the wolf returned to his shelter and quickly noticed the footprints left behind by the little girl. They were small and delicate, completely different from the beast's massive paws. A slow, malicious grin spread across the wolf's face as he began following Little Red Riding Hood's trail through the forest. The thought of the young girl's tender flesh filled his mind. Saliva dripped from his jaws as he imagined the feast awaiting him. Following her scent through the forest, the wolf finally spotted the little girl in the distance. Hunger burned within his glowing eyes at the sight of his prey so close. Silently, he crept through the shadows, preparing himself for the attack. But just as he prepared to leap toward her, the wolf heard the innocent voice of the little girl. "I cannot wait to reach my grandmother's house and bring all these gifts to her," said Little Red Riding Hood, completely unaware of the predator hidden within the shadows. The wolf's eyes widened with satisfaction as he listened carefully to her words. A far greater opportunity now revealed itself before him. Clever and calculating, the wolf quickly formed a plan. Watching the path the little girl followed, he raced silently through the forest ahead of her, determined to reach the grandmother's house first. Guided by his sharpened senses, the wolf quickly found the path leading to the old woman's cottage. His movements were swift. He knew that if he arrived before Little Red Riding Hood, he would have the perfect chance to set a deadly ambush and claim two victims at once. At last, the wolf's endless hunger would finally be satisfied, and he had no intention of letting such a perfect opportunity escape his savage instincts. Skilled in deception, the wolf approached the small cottage and gently knocked upon the door, carefully imitating the soft, innocent voice of Little Red Riding Hood. "Who is there?" asked the grandmother's cautious voice, echoing softly through the dark hallways of the cottage. "It is Little Red Riding Hood, grandmother," answered the wolf, struggling to keep his voice calm and gentle while concealing the predator hidden beneath. "I brought sweets for you, dear grandmother." The old woman's heart filled with joy at the thought of finally embracing her beloved granddaughter once again. Overcome with happiness and anticipation, she slowly opened the door with a warm smile upon her face. Texto Padrón, her eyes sparkled with joy, believing she was finally about to see her beloved granddaughter again. But before she could speak another word, the wolf attacked, violently, savagely. His fangs tore into the poor old woman's flesh as her screams echoed through the cottage. When Little Red Riding Hood finally arrived at her grandmother's cottage, she was surprised to find the front door partially open. Something immediately felt wrong. Her grandmother was sick, and the cold wind was pouring inside. Slowly, she pushed the door open and stepped inside the dark cottage. "Grandmother," she called softly, but the silence that answered her was absolute. She continued walking deeper into the cottage until she suddenly froze. Blood covered the wooden floor. Torn pieces of clothing and flesh were scattered everywhere. What remained of her grandmother's body lay completely mutilated before her. Little Red Riding Hood stared at her grandmother, or rather, what was left of her, before her terrified mind could process the horrifying scene. A deep growl emerged from the darkness behind her. Slowly, she turned around. The wolf stood there, watching her. Before she could even scream, the wolf lunged toward her. His claws tore through flesh and muscle with monstrous brutality. And so ends the tragic tale of Little Red Riding Hood, whose innocent steps led her into the dark abyss of the forest, where the starving wolf devoured not only her body, but also her innocence.
The wolf thinks he won, but he has no idea what's coming next. Type Part 2.